They get W.
Like a letter. You know, like they get yeah. B.
Vici
One
Gamers
year.
turn to
Team
bat.
Spirit.
Come on, 1 point.
1 point.
What? I think a B is better than 1 point.
B is better than 1
No
point.
one else has the letter, Winter.
Fnatic's
Okay.
turn to pick.
B1 and then Team Spirit.
B2 then.
Yeah, B2.
B1, B2.
So you think Alliance are going to top the group? Vici Gaming,
Gaming's turn
Fnatic.
to pick.
And, oh no, sorry.
I was going with
Depends
B1
what-
and B2.
Yeah, and B2. Brilliant. So we'll have to see how that goes. Thank you very much. We're gonna start talking about the draft now.
Wait, don't we have to do predictions?
Yeah, we get to do that, but
we do
we're going to go into the draft. Here it is, our first game
nice.
of Group B, Vici Gaming versus Fnatic. Already we've got our first picks out, and yeah, happy to have you here,
10
Swindle Melon,
seconds
because
remaining.
are you drafting on your team?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, captain and drafter, so we're going to get some
5
additional
seconds
insight from one of the players here.
Negative 4 points. I don't know how valuable this insight will be, but
If you analyze really well, I'll put drafting as your pro, and I'll give you 4 points. We reset you to 0,
Nice.
and then then we can judge you more on day 4 when you play.
might
But,
even give
in
you
all
11.
seriousness, thank you for joining us, and I do hope you have a great tournament with Complexity. But let's focus on Fnatic and Vici Gaming here. It's going to be a best of 3, the first game of the series, and already some
Vici
different heroes that we
Gaming's
didn't
turn
see
to
yesterday. So Ben, you raise an eyebrow?
Yeah, Batrider is not something that Ice is known for. He's one of the few offlane players that Batrider is not, I would say, so I'm actually worried they're going to put Batrider.
Turn
I
to
remember
pick.
when Batrider was super popular, they tried it out a couple times and then they just straight banned it because it didn't have the impact.
Fnatic's turn to ban.
what's interesting is that Fnatic chose to ban Venge. I get the Gyrocopter because as you saw them take Chen second, they're obviously going to be running tempo-based tower pressure, and Gyro is incredible against both those heroes because you kind of drop a call down, run in, and do tons of damage.
10
But they banned
seconds
Venge
remaining.
and then didn't take Bat, which is just kind of odd to me.
5 seconds.
I also don't think I've
remaining.
seen Fnatic play Chen at all. Winter, you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I haven't seen them play much Chen at all.
Reserve time.
Recently they started to play Chen.
Okay.
After
DJ
Chrissy,
plays it a little.
yeah, DJ plays it. After
Okay.
Chrissy swap started to use the hero,
Vici
and I
Gaming's
think
turn to ban.
they probably felt that Vici Gaming team that likes to they ran bench carry a lot doing.
They run Venge.
Yeah.
They run Venge period a lot.
Yeah, they
Vici
just run bench a
Gaming's
lot.
turn to
in
ban.
general.
They were the team during DAC who played every single game. Like
With
that's
bench.
going way back, but
But even at the summit, they played.
Yeah,
they,
recent tournaments is
they played
all
some-
about Venge.
these guys just spam Venge like as forward core. It's like a go-to first stage pick for them.
I think
10
Vici's
seconds remaining.
most certainly going to be picking an enchant for FY. I think that their draft
5
is
seconds
really strong
remaining.
here if they just kind of roam the Tusk around, put the Bat mid, and
Reserve time.
Do you think not having like a strong at that point you have no laning support because you've got Enchantress Tusk as your kind of support you? That's on a
the
weakness
thing is
then?
they're in a position here where you already see like, Lone Druid's one of those heroes that whatever lane he's in isn't really going to be that difficult for you, at least at the beginning, so you can always get something out of it. And they're also running a Chen. So Fnatic's lanes are already, I mean, obviously Chen rotating make them better, but I think you can exploit them a little bit. And they also haven't shown their other core. Something really interesting about all the Chinese teams is that they very commonly leave their 1 and their 2 for last. They almost always take 2 supports in the first 3. Thing we just picked up on, just watching a lot of Chinese stuff. So I expect them to pick Enchantress. I think it's kind of a no-brainer because it's so good against both heroes. But I mean, the problem is I feel like that's mostly like an NA thing, and I just don't know if the rest of the world's caught up to us yet.
What about MP?
NP?
I don't
Or
think
either team.
either team can actually fit. Vici wants to fit MP means the bat is going to go mid.
Yeah, I don't think it's that.
Vici
I don't think
Gaming's
it plays
turn
to their
pick.
strengths.
Play a lot of
Fnatic's
I mean,
turn
Ice
to
Ice
pick.
traditionally like played a lot, but they've even more the support Phoenix now, and this is kind of what eHome were doing a
Wait,
lot
didn't
yesterday.
Vici run jungle bat one game?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
that was
that's
one
why.
game.
Not a thing. We tried that. My
They,
bro-
they own it.
Yeah, there was one
Yeah,
game
there was
that
one game that they actually had a
FY
lot
played.
of success.
FY played the jungle bat. They did run jungle doom, like a lot of different
They do
jungling
weird
heroes.
stuff.
Very greedy jungle stuff.
it-
It might be the case because they're thinking
10
the enemy has a
seconds
Chen,
remaining.
so we want to have a greedy jungler of our own. But the problem is Chen would dictate
5
the early pace
seconds
of the
remaining.
Ignite. Swindler mentioned. You're under a lot of pressure if you actually do that.
And that's DJ Rome. playing the Chen.
Reserve
Phoenix
time.
is quite good against
No,
Druid, I feel
no.
like. I mean, the Fire Spirits, the Sunray also can destroy the bear pretty well. Like, I
But
feel like
if
decent
they're
counter
doing
pick.
that, they can't really zone the lone druid.
No.
But
No.
can
It's
you
more
zone
like-
the lone druid if you get Sunray at level 1? Can you actually do that?
You
Our
need
Sunray expert
you
yesterday
need your
was Milini.
Yep.
Milini was all about the
I think
Sunray.
Vici usually runs
Vici
Phoenix.
Gaming's turn to
Phoenix
pick.
is
I
just
think
is like a Chinese thing. I've not seen that hero played in a couple of months, at least in games I've been participating in. It's very good against Lone Druid and Chen. The creeps are very immobile and they kind of just died at the egg, and they also don't count as an attack. And the bear, not the Lone Druid hero, but the bear doesn't either. So it's really good here, just very level dependent. And I
Greedy.
feel like
10
just
seconds
greedy.
remaining.
yeah, I don't really. I kind of feel for
5
Fnatic
seconds
because they don't
remaining.
really have anything to deal with the Bat or the Phoenix right now, and those heroes are really what I'd be worried about if I were them, because
Reserve time.
they're obviously playing. They just picked a Rasta. They're playing tempo, pushing towers. They're going to be 5, and Phoenix and Bat are really tough to push to, especially going high ground. It's near impossible. And Sven
Fnatic's
also a pretty
turn
solid
to
pick.
pick.
Just right now, it looks like Vici has a pretty big advantage in this draft, I would say.
But then again, when we were talking about the advantages of Fnatic, we talk about they need a draft that's really good in the start. They need to control. That's the way they play.
I don't disagree. It's just when I think that, I think more of what we just saw MVP do. You know,
Like
PL mid,
fighting early.
Fury, and Bounty
Yeah.
Hunter. Exactly. Like actually controlling the tempo. You don't really
10
do that
seconds
with
remaining.
Rasta Lone Druid. You have to play way more passive, and when the other
5
team
seconds
moves
remaining.
elsewhere, you have those heroes rotate and push objectives. And yes, the Chen can be active, but again, like, do you really think
Reserve
like
time.
Rasta Chen just doesn't seem to me like a combo that just smoke ganks?
But
And
isn't there
push
isn't there a situation now where you get levels faster up to level 11? So doesn't that play into Rasta's kind of favor, having a support that's going to get those wards earlier, get the push, get the
To a
control?
certain extent,
Just-
yes.
Yeah, or
to a
not
certain
really?
extent.
The thing is, you just don't need Lone Druid you don't need more than Lone Druid. It's
Okay.
kind of just overkill. You drop wards and there's a Lone Druid there. They're giving up the tower. They were giving up the tower already because there
Okay.
are 5 heroes there. Now you're dropping wards.
And now they've
Vici
won.
Gaming's
So
turn
that-
to ban.
Oh, you must be happy, James. It's a silencer call.
Oh,
Yeah.
for the egg,
Really good
good,
versus
yeah,
Phoenix.
good against
Yeah.
Phoenix too.
yeah, really good.
Good versus a Tusk. Versus the Bat Rider.
Yeah, because you can, even if you global after
10
the lasso,
seconds
no,
remaining.
there's no follow up, and you can get in position to fight.
Mm.
I don't know. I haven't
5
seen a lot of people
seconds
play
remaining.
Silencer as of late, and
He's risky.
okay,
The problem is that gives
he's
Vici
like a
Fnatic's
real manly
turn
hero.
to
Then,
ban.
like if you pick him, probably cool, because
Yeah.
he's risky. You know what I mean?
Agree.
problem is it gives Vici didn't really have a default lasso target, and Fnatic just gave them one. And unless
10
they get some
seconds
sort of
remaining.
cleanse, they're just going to identify the silencer, lasso, and kill him and drop
5
it.
seconds
And
remaining.
They don't have any counterplay for that right now.
I mean, they can't really get. What last pick can I get?
Reserve
They
time.
need like a
Abaddon.
mid hero. They need a mid hero unless they're running Shaman.
LC.
Vici Gaming's
Yeah, I
turn
mean
to
that's
pick.
something eHome did, which I actually didn't see them use at this lane, which was kind of strange to me. But they were running Slark LC against the Bat Rider early, and obviously Fnatic's not a fan of that. They are going to last pick
Wow.
Invoker.
Wow.
Fnatic's
This is gonna be a support
turn
Phoenix.
to pick.
This is very much a Vici gaming lineup. It's just
Oh, wait.
heroes that can play individually, super high skill, and
Would you actually like the Invoker to be class back this game against the Chen? What do you guys
Exceptional
think?
versus-
Really? I disagree.
Or you just go Exort?
Yeah,
for the
I think so
lasso?
too. You have two, well, actually 3 amazing Sunstrike setups, and I'd much rather an Invoker with Forges, like, actually able to pressure, because right now, if
10
Sven isn't
seconds
ulting and
remaining.
attacking the tower, they really don't have the push, and I think the last pick a Nyx Assassin. I am really concerned.
It's
That
for
is
the
a hero
bat,
that deals
yeah.
with Bat, I agree, with the Max Carapace build, but I don't know if they're going to get to a point in the game where they can actually do what their draft has to do to win.
I think again, Chen. What Chen can do in the first 10 minutes is crucial for them. If they can get a head start, Shaman gets early level 6.
But that's my problem. Where is he going to be? Is he roaming for the Lone Druid? Rasta for the silent? Like they have Silencer, Lone Druid, and Nyx as their course. Chen isn't. That doesn't
He has too much to do.
land
That's what I'm
kills.
saying.
Yeah, and
Do you think he needs to prioritize more than just farming his fast
Yes,
mecha?
yes. I think he needs to sacrifice this for the team.
So yeah, we've now seen the draft of the first match here, and as always, we
10
go to our
seconds
couches
remaining.
for their predictions. So far, it's been the Swindles and
5 seconds
sorry,
remaining.
Winter show, So Ben, you can kind of lead your couch for the moment and convince. Sorry, Parker. Yeah, I am losing my mind with everybody. Everyone's Ben and Nalini to me.
You're looking at me and you think better.
I think they might have fallen to the game as well. I'm not sure, so we might have a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But you have to agree as a couch number 2, who's going to win very quickly.
I think Vici Gaming, personally, I really getting away with the last pick Invoker, and I think having this support you of FY and Fenrir on heroes to be comfortable on that they can get
You
a
win
lot
on
done
that,
with.
Swindles. You win on that decision?
I was all about Fnatic hype train before this draft, but now I've seen it, and I think Vici gonna win.
All right.
Also, Super is going to Cluster.
And over to
Vici.
couch number 1.
Sorry, I'm from Southeast Asia. I agree with you, Ben.
And he will never change his mind.
I'll sacrifice. Go with Fnatic. Push him down.
All right, into the game. Sorry to keep you away from the commentators. It's the first match day of Group
30
B. It's
seconds
Vici
to
Gaming
battle.
versus Fnatic. Over to the commentators. Match.
Thank you, James. That's right, it's not Toby Wan and Cinderin, it's Capitalist and Blitz. Hello everyone, we're finally into our match. Fnatic versus Vici Gaming. We've got a lot to talk about since we're really deep into this now, as the bounty runes are about to spawn, but I really want to get into Fnatic's lineup, because this is definitely the more interesting draft. Vici Gaming have, I think, a lot of pretty standard heroes right now. The Invoker, Sven, very common carry, the Phoenix support that we've seen a bit already in this tournament, and it seems like we're going to be seeing more of it as time goes on. But Fnatic with the Silencer, Nyx Assassin, and Lone Druid cores, what do you really make of their lineup? What are they trying to achieve?
Yeah, the silencer's kind of good. They might have thought it was going to be an option, or at least take it, but you already picked the Lone Druid, so the Phoenix pick shouldn't really be too big of a surprise. And it's going to be weird because the timing has to be, you hope you're not the person jumped, and as soon as the Batrider jumps in, you pop the bolt. It's one of the easiest setups in the game.
Right.
Because then there's no follow-up damage to a Firefly, and then you can reset the fight. Problem is you're playing a core silencer, so if Ice just looks for Mushi every single time, he's going to be hard-pressed to get off a pretty good global, or one that actually matters. And the other issue with the hero is that it's low. Like, the build-up time for it is very long, stats aren't great, like you need a decent amount of farm to make it work, which is why we more often see it as a support role.
Now, what do you think about, let's go back over to Vici Gaming. We have Super playing the Invoker mid against mid one's Nyx Assassin. We heard Swindle actually talking about on the couch how he would like to see an Exort Invoker potentially, just because they have so many good setups for this. They have Tusk, Batrider, as well as Sven, all the potential setups for Sunstrike. But instead we're seeing a Quaps Wex. What is kind of the difference between the two Invoker builds right now since the change of Deafening Blast?
It's more, people are understanding that Quaswex gives you more options in terms of the team fight, and you don't have to just, you can play the Midas game, but it still allows you to both scale, and you can do the things that you did with Exort, but you can have better impact in the early game. And it counters a lot of these heroes. For example, like the Chen tries to go in, but you know, you just mana burn all of his creeps and tornado them on the way in, and you reset the team.
Right.
I think the reason why they choose the Nyx though is they need something. We're discussing it as soon as you see the Lone Druid. Like the difference between that and the Void is the Void is an enabler, whereas the Lone Druid is a hero that independently needs a lot of farm to be useful. You're never just gonna have a Lone Druid that gets sacked. If you think, you don't really think of this hero as like a true offlaner, more of a 1 or 2 position that just happens to be in the offlane.
Even though we are getting greedier with our offlaners, there is no offlaner like Lone Druid that's being run that is truly like a real carry in the way that Lone Druid is. Even certain heroes like Nature's Prophet have very definitive impact early on into the game, where Lone Druid certainly lacks. And Nyx Assassin was definitely, you know, one of those kind of early aggressive heroes that kind of fits the build, but it also is a significant counter to some of Vici Gaming's lineup. You've got, first of all, you've got Mana Burn up against the Invoker. That's always going to be powerful. You've got Spike Carapace against the Batrider as well. That's going to be quite strong. But is Nyx Assassin really a viable mid still?
When you pick this hero, like we said, it's either you take something like this or the right? You need something that can initiate for your team because you already have core position carry in the offlane. So you have to have something that either sets up for your team or shuts down the enemy mid. The Nyx doesn't do as well as Fnatic thinks it's going to in this mid lane. The Invoker's still gonna pretty much get free farm if he plays it mechanically correct. And the Nyx shouldn't have kill potential, right? Because always stay on Quas and regen. So he'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. We've actually seen Ice doing a little bit of rotations pretty early on here, trying to harass back mid one. That top lane is obviously quite dangerous. The Silencer is a pretty scary carry to actually go up against, and then Shadow Shaman's probably one of the best, if not the best, offlaner or support the zone out solo offlaner. So it's definitely a lane that Ice can't feel too comfortable just sitting forward in. But that being said, DJ right now, Christy's actually spending a lot of time farming as the not actually trying to gank up too much. He got a stack, and Wild Wing rippered that stack down with the tornado, and so he's got himself some decent farm. He's almost 4x4, which is pretty good for a Chen.
I don't think could maybe go for this mid gank.
You don't really have the right creeps for it, but yeah. Shadow Shaman is still, if you could just get in range of Shackles.
Hey, this has no mana. Usually if this hero has mana, it's going to be nearly impossible to gank because you have to bring along two, but Fnatic might even decide to make the rotation up, but first ward was already dewarded by the lone druid, something I don't know if the analyst brought up, and he was able to TP mid to get down his own ward in the safe area.
Mm-hmm.
So Fnatic have to be pretty quick about this. Like, they can't be this undecisive. This is pretty bad.
Yeah, they run into FY here. They will be able to get the Shackles. He does have a dive, but it looks like the nukes might be enough. Yep, they get him right as he tries to dive out. That's going to be our first blood. Eventually, it was a successful smoke. That coveted first blood, but obviously getting the kill on the Invoker would have been even better. Fortunately, they're just going to have to rotate down. Now, we do have a nice big hard camp stack that they can actually try and farm up. That's going to be really nice to have. We talked about this, right? When we were watching this draft, the way that the Chen needs to be able to take control of the Radiant jungle, particularly with heroes like Batrider and Sven, who are rather dependent on stacks. This offers a good opportunity for Chrissy to really slow down these farms.
You could see that there was some hesitation on the side of Fnatic cap. They were debating between whether or not going for Burning, who they assumed was left alone, or whether or not Fenrir would be sitting behind the top of the mid lane. And ultimately, they just hemmed and hawed a little bit too long. I think if they immediately made the rotation for the mid lane, they would have been successful regardless of the creeps, and now that...
Ooh, that's going to be close. So Global Silence is up. That is a perfect opportunity for Fnatic to get a free kill. Obviously, pretty hefty cooldown on that Global Silence, but still something Vici Gaming are going to have to play a bit careful around when they start playing aggressively. As you can just kind of gank yourself if you go into some of those global dolls like that.
I think the most peculiar thing about this game so far too is that Ice didn't get his camp block. See on the one closest to the ancients, and instead of electing to stack that, he's actually gone and stacked ancient camp for the Sven. And I actually think the reason why they did this is because there's like a timing with Sven where you'll send a creep over and then eventually they're going to hard dedicate sentries and wards to that camp. So you circumvent that. By doing it for the first 4 minutes, there's almost no way that Fnatic can respond to that. They're not going to have the sentry in time.
Right.
So this time around, he just finishes the Helm of Dom. If he went for the stack right now, he'd have 0 creeps there for the next 3 minutes. But instead, because of Ice's sacrifice, now he's got some creeps to go to. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting, because it's a progression of what we've seen before. We would see, like, the 4th position support who would rotate into the mid lane. He would start stacking maybe like 2 minutes before the Helm of Dominator comes online to make sure that there is a little bit of a stack going on. But this is definitely like an even further progression, hitting your offlaner to make that kind of a play. Just kind of staying ahead of the natural escalation game of ancient stacking. FY is trying to make sure that the creep wave doesn't stick on the tower for too long. They don't want to give up this Radiant Tower too early. He does have the dive out and should be just fine as net. Not going to be able to reach him. Looks like that tier 1's still going to fall. Vici Gaming. I think they realize this is just not really a fight they want to take against the Chen, who's probably in greatest strength. So instead, they're going to go for the gank on Mushi.
He has 1200 HP. I'd be shocked if they killed Fnatic not responding. They did commit the TP of the Nyx Assassin, but Shadow Shaman has one, and this guy has 1200 HP and a magic stick, and a Fairy Fire. But effectively 1400 HP that you have to cut through to kill.
Yeah, Mushi definitely knows. This is so smart. I mean, the way that they took that tower with no contest means something's going to be happening on the other side of the map. Mushi knows about it. He'll get off the Global Silence. He's going to stop any of Super's aggression, and already the TP is complete from net. But they need more. There's no other TPs coming out right now. This could be a huge error. They do have the Stun Ray coming in. Looks like Mushi's going to die to that one. Tusk falls, but Super is going to be able to pick up the other kill, and that was just a lack of rotations there from Fnatic. It looked really good. We were setting up the storyline of Fnatic being able to respond to this bit of aggression from Vici, but with only one TP in, that wasn't nearly enough force they needed to bring.
The major issue there was that mid one TP bottom, the sub aggression there. But when you go for that, I don't know if most people know, but the Radiant tier 1 tower bottom is so unsafe to be at a certain point, especially when you're playing against a champ. Everybody and their mother is going to rotate in to try to kill you, and FY is now going to go down at top for free. Mid one's just going to use his ultimate, get a free pick off there.
Pick off, but again, we would have really liked to see that rotation top. Mid one's rotations are so critical, right? Because we have a lone druid and a Chen. Chen is just a hero that doesn't naturally make very good TP rotations. He's not a good TP responding hero in general. And obviously the lone druid, as we talked about before, is just not one of those offlaners that can have an impact early on. So it's really up for the other 3 heroes essentially to always be available for those TP rotations. Otherwise, Vici Gaming, that's something they can abuse, right? They can just heavily rotate with 3 or 4 heroes and kind of know that they've got the numbers advantage every time.
Yeah. With a hero like Sven as well, there was a time period where people figured out this cool style. You know, you pick Sven and you think to yourself, like, alright, I'm gonna farm a bunch of ancient stacks and get 4 levels on everybody. And everyone's like, nah, dog, we're just gonna ward the ancients every time.
Yep.
But it's kind of cool to see how Vici circumvented that, and now they're gonna be able to get these stacks going for their safe laner. And Fnatic have to do something about this. You can't just let Sven get this big of an injection of gold. Free Yasha if he wants it. So you notice that Fnatic are now playing on this Radiant safe lane. Basically what you'll do is you'll go for the mid tower right after you pick the bottom one and try to get a jungle control, but it's even more important that they get ancient control this time around. They want to try to prevent that from happening as long as they can.
Yeah, absolutely, and going from the top lane into ancient is a lot easier than going from mid into ancient, right? Because of the ramp and how close it is. So taking control of that top lane definitely feels like a better plan from Fnatic. I'm feeling like really good about Fnatic and the strength that they're making so far. You identified all of these kind of early win conditions, taking control of the Radiant jungle, making sure they don't get those stacks up, and everything's kind of happening. Even if Vici Gaming was kind of one step ahead with stacking the Batrider in order to stack a little bit more, it still feels like Fnatic, okay, they did manage to get some stacks off. What's next? And you know, the next play is trying to get control, make sure they don't have an opportunity to farm that ancient stack, or maybe they can get some sort of good contest in.
I think the only major mistake that I saw was mid one's TP at bottom.
Right.
I think if he saves that and he's ready for the TP at top, then Mushi just goes ham and feels like 6 in there. Because he lived for a really long time. They even had to rotate the last hero, and Burning's not going to stack this and farm it. He's not going to wait for the additional creep. He's just like, okay, we have to do this right now. And his entire team is there. Soak up some XP with it too. The Batrider even popping the Firefly guarantee this.
I think Fnatic thought they had perhaps just a little bit more time. It seemed like, in my head, a good idea for Net to be bottom lane to finish up his level 6 and get the Shadow Shaman wards. And if they have those Serpent wards, I think they have a much higher chance of being able to victoriously contest that ancient stack and fight over it.
They're going to take mid now, because they want to take control of this jungle and play aggressively. And
they can't afford to let Burning get any more stacks, right?
Yeah, and you're going to cut off like this area effectively by taking all 3 of these towers early.
Oh, mid one. Nice job holding on to that stun. Nix is after Impale, the top one to land. He will be able to get off the Spike Carapace. There is going to be a global silence down in return, but Bushi perhaps a little bit quick on the trigger, as there wasn't that much Vici Gaming was really going to be able to do with that kind of play. And this should still be the tier 1 tower going down. They're going to try and come in with the Sun Ray. They do have Supernova if they want to try and fight this one, but mid one again, sitting on the front lines with the earlier levels of Spike Carapace is a tough hero to run into.
EG just needs to get more everything. They need more levels, they need more farm. The Sven is still... Sven and the Invoker were still ahead of the Invoker, or ahead of the Silencer, despite the fact that many objectives and towers have been taken. But Fnatic are opening up the map for themselves. This is the next rotation that you almost always make. Sometimes you'll even do this after you just take 2 towers. The mid one and the bottom one, you go for this Roshan because you have 10 plus.
Right.
Shadow Shaman and Super.
Oh, that tornado! It went off at the perfect time, right as mid one tried to make his initiation. So they could have actually had an opportunity to perhaps pick the Invoker if mid one had been able to lead a bit sooner. But as it is, they still get the Aegis and will be able to move forward. Part of that is, right, the early Roshan, you want to speed up Roshan number 2. Right, Roshan number 2 is really the Aegis that allows you to go high ground. Have this kind of early pressure push lineup.
Right now, so this morning I was talking to Gods about it, and he was pretty confident about Fnatic, and I was like, ah man, Vici's got this, but this mid opportunity, mid one.
Yeah, mid one looks like he should be dying here. The spike carapace really helping out, and they are going to be lacking bit in damage,
Oh, he's
but
got 51.
they're still going to be able to run him down. The wand goes off. He has enough for a stun. Turnaround 2, the supernova gets laid out. A couple more right clicks, and they should be able to finish him off, but Bendra's going to die in return, and mid one's going to be able to survive. The A goes down as well. That's a 2 for nothing special. Fnatic respond just in time. Mid one with the big stacks of magic wand is able to prevent a pretty critical loss there.
God damn, man. I was like, this guy's got 15 wand fairy fire. They have. It was close, but he played that perfectly. He kept beating them further and further in. Beautiful. But I was like talking to Gods on the bus. I said, Vici, they should handily win this. And I think always the issue with Fnatic is they don't really come in with these like styles of plans. They're almost too in this regard, I feel. We're gonna watch this again. I love this. This was done so well. Like, heal pops, he's still got the wand, he's holding on to it for as long as possible. And they're just like getting baited further and further in, holds onto the fairy fire at the last second.
And they feel so confident knowing that they've got a supernova to protect them, but they've got the attack speed and enough heroes to be able to take out the egg pretty quickly. And now, back to bottom lane, you have Net, who's going to be initiated on the global sounds, goes down, so not going to be able to pop the Shadow Shaman immediately, which means he gets off the wards. This probably means the Tuck's going to be dying at the very minimum. And Net, well, his EMP goes off, it's still not enough damage. It looks like another hero that's going to be able to just barely survive through the Vici Gaming attempt at a pickoff. And Burning, who is trying to push down the tier 1 tower in return, is not even going to be able to get that much. Mushi has come in, he's got this Rod of Atos, an excellent kiting item against the Sven. This is something that he can't really contest Mushi right now, so they don't even get some sort of tower trade-off. Fnatic are just taking so much map control away from Vici before the Sven is actually online.
Yeah, he's already stolen 8 int. Competitively, that's fine. Got Aegis on the silencer too, and he's 1500 HP, and at this point, Vici had no way of killing this guy. They could 1v3 and probably kill him and kite him, but when it comes to the straight 5-on-5 engagement, A, this hero does the most damage in the game, for the last 4 stats build, know what levels of the Arcane Curse, and B, have to kill him, just because he does so much damage, but he's so tanky.
Let's go back a little bit to the Sven progression, because this is something that his build is actually a little bit more reminiscent of the older Sven. When they first started, it was Helmet Dominator into SNY, but as that Sven was a bit too slow, it seemed like many players started going for the faster Blink Daggers. Burning is still playing this pretty slow, and he's going to be caught out trying to farm up the Ancient Stack once again. They have so many heroes colliding on in. They're going to be able to kill Burning immediately. And Super, well, he's going to try and respond with a Tornado EMP, but it's not going to be able to do much. Fnatic will farm the rest of that stack.
I did this like A-B thing, but I had no idea what the second point was going to be. In my head, it was like, it makes sense, but...
Do you think that he should have gone Blink Dagger on Sven?
No, I think if anything, he needs a BKB before he finishes the SNY almost.
Yeah.
He's going to finish the SNY, but... I don't know how they're supposed to fight into this lineup, but... Fnatic is just like... I thought she had the better draft overall, but Fnatic are definitely playing really crisp. Aside from that rotation at bottom that mid one made, everything that they've done is very calculated. He's just gonna do what he can to hold down this push, but there's so many things assaulting right now.
Well, nice little bit of ice start. They will be able to make the immediate response from Net, though. They control ice, get the 2-man stun. Burning still being controlled up. He's not getting any damage out while these groups are all grouped up, but still, Fnatic are now going to be able to try and get out. Moose is going to be the first target. They turn to Net, actually. The Supernova getting laid down. Fnatic not going to be able to turn things around just yet. Mid one with a nice 2-man impale that will give Mushi time to be able to get out. Burning can't quite catch up to be able to get off the stun. He'll throw it at mid one, perhaps? No, doesn't even try that much. He knows the Spike Carapace is ready to go. And Vici Gaming, while they may have held, they still lost their tier 2 power, and they didn't get anything of substance out of that. They just get enough map control to perhaps take this to tier 1. They really needed to be able to get a court hit.
Ice had a really sick initiation there, and he dragged them near the Supernova, and at that point, Fnatic, they were so out of position that there was almost no chance that they were going to be able to kill the egg and contest with the rest of Vici, even without burning the ultimate pop. But the Aegis is gone now, and Fnatic have accomplished enough with it. They didn't lose any cores in that push, like you said. They were able to take down a bunch of tier 1 and tier 2 towers. They got the tier 2 top, but usually the first Aegis like that means like 2 towers max.
Yeah.
The fact that they were both tier 2s successful, but Bushi, is he game sensing this right now? Because everybody from Vici's coming in, and he can't afford to go to the jungle right now.
No, they had a very aggressive dire side ward here on this near the ancient. Not actually blocking out the ancient stack, but enough to be able to see when Vici Gaming go to farm it. And as a result, able to see the rotation.
Fnatic is just playing so well right now. Vici have to get out of here, and they're not even gonna. They're not gonna get the kill. They're not gonna get tier 1 tower at top, which is really low. Instead, they're gonna get counter smoked on Fnatic. I think this was an okay move to go for the smoke right now, but it's gonna be pretty fruitless because Vici, they know something's up. Well, our smoke should have worked here. What was going on? They might ping down the ward or near it.
Now, let's talk about then the natural progression of Fnatic here, because they've gone through phase 1 and phase 2 of this kind of early establishment of lane control into pushing dominant. And they've gotten control of the map beautifully, but they are still yet to hit the hardest part of this game, which is actually pushing high ground against a Bat Rider, a Clock Flex Invoker. These heroes are difficult. What do? Well, talk about that later. Fenrir is going to get picked off. Maybe. Does have the snowball. He's going to be going towards some of his allies, but it doesn't look like Vici Gamer are going to try and save him past a stun regime, so that's going to be it there. But what does Fnatic need to do? What do they need to, item-wise and timing-wise, be able to push high ground successfully? It seems like waiting on Roshan #2 is not the answer.
Oh, they're just going to go for it because they know that they have all the cooldowns up. That has everything, but at the same time, I think they feel pretty comfortable with at least going for this.
Yeah, the global silence gets laid out. They're not having enough damage to be able to kill Ice though. Fortunately, that global silence does prevent Vici Gaming from being able to counter-initiate though, and they make that kind of jump without getting punished too much. They lose the super ward for that.
That was really ambitious. I don't think that there's a realm where they take that. You can get spammed out by the Bat Rider, Firefly, the Tusk, Ice Shard, and that's the dangerous thing about the high ground. Is if the Tusk just hits a really nice Ice Shard and blocks you away from the other half of your team, what can you do? Like Mushi's opted to go for Blink Dagger instead of the Force Staff, which I think is pretty odd actually, because if he just gets caught up by Ice Shard, what's going to save him? Nobody on his team getting a Force Staff.
Big time to rotate back, right as Ice who's coming forward. Oh, he's going to show himself now. F1 spots him out, but Ice will be able to get, he got the Savage Roar, so he's not pulling him in the perfect direction, but still going to be enough to have to get that kill. FY jumps in, Supernova gets laid out, Fnatic don't have the opportunity to kill that egg. It's going to be able to explode here. Ken desperately trying to commit, but he's got no help whatsoever from the rest of his team. Goes to the GP out, and that is actually going to be successful. Now mid one's going to jump in with the 3-man impale. Mushi's here. He's got his lot of base moves to ensure a curly kill on the Tusk. And Vici Gaming are just going to break from here. They're going to give up on the Tusk. It means it's going to be an extra bit of intelligence for him. And Fnatic, I mean, considering that was a smoke initiation on the Lone Druid and everything else, that was a pretty decent recovery.
That could have been a lot worse. They did lose their Lone Druid, and the sad thing is he was sending his bear right at that moment to go get the relic.
Yeah.
And then he brought it back so he could get the Savage Roar off, but unfortunately he doesn't live. Mushi has opted, by the way, to go for the Arcane Curse, and I was about to mention this, rather than going for stats, you level up the Arcane Curse for like Bat Rider.
Oh yeah.
The way that it changes now is that crushing. So if the Bat Rider uses one sticky, he's just gonna have to use like 4 other spells in that time period. It's gonna do so much damage to him.
The change is actually really funny because essentially the way you counterplay it is the opposite of what it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be you want to cast this spell as soon as possible. Now you gotta hold off on casting spells.
For heroes like Invoker, Bat Rider, that's gonna be so frustrating. Especially for the Bat. I think Mushi's like, he wakes up and he's like, oh wait, spell's actually sort of useful in this game.
Now, is it going to be useful enough to ever consider an Aghanim Scepter later on to the game, or do you think going for more of that stats right-click build that he has right now is more promising, say, BKB into Sight?
I think that Aghanim's pretty bad on Force Silencer. There was a time period where it worked out pretty well because you would burn all the mana in the game, and you could get such a long global off times in a row, but you never build it for a new Arcane.
Yeah.
Not as nearly as useful. You get like BKB and then you just build like damage. Get C if you want, so that you can tank up against. Your bear will probably get
Sight because he has a Blink Dagger as well.
Oh yeah, Blink Hex is appreciations in the game. Pretty tanky to survive too, especially against BKB. They really need is this Lone Druid to catch up now, and by God, he's done it. He's got the Radiance completed, that's the next timing for Fnatic. You're going to complete the Radiance, you've got the BKB coming up on the Silencer, and you've got the next Aegis coming up. Like, everything just kind of plays into this.
Mid one almost getting scouted there by the Sentry. He's still sitting behind. He's managed to see all of Vici Gaming, and there shouldn't be anyone caught by this Batrider. And they're gonna lose their board, and that's about.
Ice is so poor. Normally you have like Jeb want one at this point.
Oh, he actually sees mid one. They had a counter ward sitting inside the river. They're gonna be able to combo him up with Snowball, and while this punch holding him in place, a free pick off there. And this means Lone Druid needs to try and draw some attention away, push out that top lane. Ben's already there, burning. Very farm-oriented build, SNY, BKB, but he is essentially coming online now.
Needs a
next
blink.
item, still blink, right?
Needs a way to follow Ice in for that opening initiation. And you want to get on top of things. For example, for burning, if you're burning in the team fight, here's how you approach it. Pop your ultimate, pop your BKB, then you blink in, and if Global Silence gets popped, you don't really care at that point because you have no abilities. You can Warcry yourself in, just pop everything at once, then just get on top of it.
Fnatic, they see burning up at the top lane. They know this is their opportunity to get an initiation inside the jungle, but unfortunately their smoke doesn't work out. They're going to try and transition this into a fast Roshan. It would have been more ideal if they'd gotten a pickoff first, as Vici Gaming, still having their full 5, are probably going to contest. The Tornado MP is going to be able to slow down Fnatic for the time being, and they do have that big supernova they can place on the cliff. If FY is able to get a nice position for this one. Roshan is down to 3k HP. Deafening Blast is going to slow things down pretty significantly. And Mushi's been stuck. Mushi up on the cliff. That's going to be huge. Mushi's not going to be able to pick up the Aegis. Blink back down. They didn't manage to keep him up there. Now the Global Silence is laid out right as Roshan's about to die. They're going to be able to pick up the Aegis and now turn and fight. But it is going to be Vici Gaming in a superior position. They're easily going to be able to kill Mushi and take life number 1. They've also got the Lone Druid dead to right. So this means Mushi's going to come back entirely alone. His blink not going to be good enough, but perhaps the send back from Chen. They don't actually have enough damage, but the Tornado is going to be able to take that send back off. That means Mushi will die a secondary time. That Roshan fight really was not the one for Fnatic. If they'd gotten the pick off on maybe the Phoenix to start things off, you could have gone into Roshan with a little bit more assured confidence, but that almost seemed like overconfident.
Yeah, the Nyx had to be more useful there too in the fight, and he's really fallen behind. He's level 11 right now, doesn't have a Midas or stacks to farm like the other 2 cores did, and this is kind of expected because you've got a Lone Druid playing the true 1 position, I guess, and you've got your Silencer around the same area, but Pepper realizes that he can't really do anything in the fight with the global going off, so he decides to really smartly for the BKB. He knows that Fnatic have this timing window where they have to play around this next Aegis, and then they have to play around the next set of items that they, right? You've got the BKB coming on the Silencer, you've got the Radiance coming on the Lone Druid, you've got the Aegis coming up. You're not going to get that much stronger than that. The next timing after that takes so much longer, because then it's like Vlad's or AC on the Bear, then you wait for your Silencer to get God knows what. He's still on the way for his BKB. At most you wait for the Nyx Assassin Aghanims, but DJ decided not to go for the Ags himself or anything. So this item timing for Fnatic, for them to hit, is really specific. So they can't make these mistakes at the Roshan fight, can't have these errors play out.
Yeah. Do you think that because they didn't get that pick off, they should have waited on their BKB? Those kind of team fighting critical items to make sure that Roshan fight would have gone better for them?
And yeah, because Vici, even with the Aegis on Fnatic, they had superior positioning. You're always going to take that over the Aegis. That's why teams like EG, you'll almost always see them fight because they know that they have the funnel set up. Right.
We actually got to talk about this item pickup. We have a Desolator now on Super's Invoker, turning into much more of a right-click build. It's specifically to deal with Lone Druid and Global Silence. Oh, they're actually going to be able to grab Ohio here to start things off, but Ice immediately turned around upon. They're going to drop their Serpent Wards and everything else to make sure they blow him up. BKB, though, is up on Burning as well as Super, and they're able to turn, take out Mushi. They're going to go for Chrissy as well, as he's going to be run down, it looks like, by Burning. Oh, a miss percentage coming out from the Radiance actually makes it so the Chen survives. Still, though, Burning and the rest of his boys will be able to take control of both the Serpent Wards as well as this Tier 2 tower.
They're just going to get out.
Oh. Okay, I guess they lost 2.
Yeah, everybody's just going to come back up, and we've got nothing now. Burnings uses BKB, Fly uses Egg, so essentially as a support.
And you don't need to be greedy if you're Vici game.
Right? Yeah, exactly, because you've got you've got strong timings of your own. Like, you can play this a little bit more patient. Fnatic do have... I don't know if they have the best late gamer. I don't think Lone Druid stacks up against slotted. Burning still has enough BK to make the next fights work at the same time. If this were a 6 or 5 second BKB, say Vici has to be a little bit more urgent.
Especially with the way that they're turning to max physical damage on Vici Gaming, while the Lone Druid by himself may not be enough. You could see perhaps another core being able to have enough impact that Fnatic could win the late game.
Oh, he's finally got Vlad's.
The problem's going to be that Silencer is just going to be targeted down most of these times.
He's got Vlad's now, though, and this is a really crucial pickup for them. Like I said, they need to... Then the next thing is AC.
Right.
But I think the timing for that is a little bit too late. Like, your team would be way too passive. Maybe you could go for the 2-man ganks with the Nyx plus the Shadow Shaman, but what does that lead to?
That BKB is being delayed so heavily. Fnatic's choice of team fights is really costing Mushi his progression and items. I wanted to talk about perhaps a different item than Scythe. What about a Shiva's? Because we're talking about armor and physical damage so much. If they could get both AC on the Lone Druid and Shiva's on Silencer, that feels like a good combination to kind of lessen the threat of Vici Gaming physical damage.
And this gold kick, 9 to 15, and they've taken so many objectives. Gold is almost about even, and most importantly, the experience is really in Vici's favor now. Thing that you should always think of, and most of this comes down to the fact that Nyx hasn't really been able to keep up in levels because he's vendetted up most of the time looking for opportunities. Unable to find them though.
He is going to have his axe pretty soon, but this is definitely a stronger pickup when you are being seed, not the one seed. It's going to be nice to have, of course.
No matter what happens though, you wait for Mushi, you just got the BKB, don't have any more items that you're going for. Maybe you wait for Ohio's Hyperstone, but I think it's worth it. Just, you know, get map control right now and go for it. You don't even have to necessarily smoke. I think they should because they're running into the Radiant jungle. And they want to have the best possible fight with this 10-second BKB.
Do you really think they're that much limited on time, though? I feel like Vici Gaming, in a way, have already picked up their significant items, that it's too late to kind of barrel down into
no, but you want to push the fight because you've got the Rost Awards, Lone Druid, and you've got DJ who will eventually start to lose some of his effectiveness. You've got Guardian Greaves though, and Fnatic 5-manned up. I don't know how much stronger than they get.
That is most definitely. They don't have any items that are turning this fight.
You wait for the Guardian Greaves and then go. Whereas Vici, they're stats. Let's get into a fight right now. We wait for like, see, they go for the smoke Fnatic.
Yep,
but they're just gonna run into each other.
The Tornado's gonna be the first one out. They do have the triple one to place aggressively. Net probably gonna die here. The Glimmer Cape actually saving him. Burning is looking for his target. He gets his 2-man stun. That's perfect. Being controlled up by the Net, but still Ice making sure these heroes stay grouped up together. There goes the Lone Druid Bear. Ohio's probably gonna be next up. They got a pit stop on Chen, take him out, and now Ohio's gonna be next up. They have the stun almost ready to go on Burning. He just needs to be able to get it out. Ohio will die. Mid one. He's going to be kind of stuck out as the sticky napalm is blowing him down. He managed to get a blink away, though, thanks to the spike carapace, and he will actually survive. But Vici Gaming winning that fight quite handedly, not dropping a single hero. They're all sitting above half HP. They're actually in a good position if they want to try and pressure high ground.
Man, that was maybe the best possible fight that Fnatic was going to get. They had this end hold up for so long. They got the net on him, right, by the Chen creep. And on top of that, he got rooted by the bear. Struggling, wasting his BKB timer. But what worked out for them is that Burning's initial stun.
Yeah. The fact that he managed to get the 2-man stun, controlling Mushi, most specifically. He didn't get off his 10-second BKB at all, because Ice was able to follow up that stun with a lasso. Mid one, kind of getting caught there on the front line, trying to bend when it really wasn't necessary. They almost had their silencer back up. Now they're left in a 4 versus 5 position once again. Vici Gamer are not going to try and force it though. They're out of mana and out of HP.
Man, I feel for Fnatic right now because they had such a good early game and they were playing it really crisp. Ward positioning was really great. They were playing all the spots. Had to. KB came a little bit too late on Mushi and they got a little bit sloppy at the Roshan, but that's all Vici needs with their type of lineup.
this is definitely what separates the kind of the tier 2 teams from like the championship teams, right? Is being able to execute that kind of phase 3, that the final like high ground push to the same kind of perfection you did all the previous phases. And unfortunately, Fnatic weren't able to see that out in this game. Of course, they still have an opportunity to be able to come back, but it's going to be a tougher road than ever before.
It's like what we said about protecting Mushi. They don't really have the heroes to necessarily save him, right?
Mhm.
What do they... Okay, so the Bat Rider jumps on you before you get global off. Then you're just flailing. Eventually he did get the global off, but he had 100 HP and his entire team at that point was reeling.
Yeah, it was useless to be part of the BKB by the time the stuns were over.
Yeah. They either have to... That's why Fnatic smoked up there, is because they knew that they had to be the ones to get the initial jump off. But they just couldn't. And
which is exactly why Vici Gaming saw the opportunity to smoke themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
If they could just prevent Fnatic from getting initiation, good.
Weird counter on counterplay.
I mean, that is kind of Vici Gaming as a whole, right? I mean,
Oh, they are chasing this bear.
be 300 gold if they can get their hands on it. Not going to be the case, though. Burning next up, complete that Satanic. KB choice from FY. You've got a lot of disables besides the global silence. You'd be like Phoenixes would go Jewel Scepter, dealing with silencer, but you can see all these hard disables really turning the favor more to the BKB.
Eggs have been on point the entire game. I honestly don't even know how he has a BKB without a Midas or anything.
Yeah.
He just casually has one. I guess they've gotten a lot of objectives and he's been there for most of the fight. Apparently he's only died 2 times. Came in the early phase too. He was the one that was first blooded and everything.
Gonna be a smoke up. They're all getting to their sentry wards. They know that Vici Gaming don't see them. Oh, this is actually quite bad for Fnatic. They don't have a smoke for another minute and a half.
Man, mid one's been waiting for this Aghanim Scepter for so long too.
He's been on the same like 300 gold for the last like 10 minutes.
You remember when I said he was struggling to get levels? He was level 11. That was like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
He's just been at this hump where his team hasn't won any fights and he hasn't been able to set up. This next fight is going to determine a lot. If Fnatic can win this fight decisively, then they've got another window of timing where they can go for this Roshan and accomplish a lot. It has to work out for them.
They not only need the levels, but gold progression to get the next round of items for Silencer and Lone Druid if they hope to be able to keep up with a farming hero like Sven, who is getting almost actually getting close to 10k ahead of most of the other cores of Fnatic. Bat Rider looking for that initiation. Unfortunately, the Spike Marathon is going to be able to stop him. Good positioning from mid one. They're actually just going to be able to blow up Ice. Still, though, BKB and Supernova are going to be laid out. Ohio, they're going to be able to kill the egg nice and quick on the left-hand side. Burning is struggling to be able to get his hands on net, but the Glimmer Cape's laid out. They're actually controlling Vici Gaming beautifully. It all starts with being able to kill Ice. And now Fnatic make a clean turnaround and are going to be able to take out Vici Gaming. Looks like, unfortunately, they're missing out on the counter vision to be able to catch Super, but still, a clean fight nonetheless. 3 kills, and they're going to be able to turn their sights towards Roshan.
And that was a really sloppy engagement from Vici. The Bat Rider almost just struggled to get the initiation off, and more importantly than that, Venton and the one other hero were preoccupied trying to kill Net with the Glimmer Cape, but they didn't have their gem anymore, so their Bat Rider died. So half that time they were just like trying to find a hero that can really do anything. You noticed that Burning didn't even pop his ultimate during the beginning of that engagement, but he popped KB, so he wasn't getting any damage out. Despite having the Sven, who's an absolute monster, like you said, 5-6k ahead of everybody, he just wasn't able to put that net worth to use.
Yeah, he was so easily kited once they got the root, carrying BKB. Over for him from there. Why they so desperately need that initiation from the Bat Rider to go successfully, but Ice, a good combination of both. It was like mid one, like playing it correctly as the Nyx assassin, like he got the Spike Carapace off underneath the Firefly, but really Burning should never be in a position where Nyx assassin could be sitting next to him when he goes for that kind of Firefly jump.
They have to coordinate that a lot better. As soon as the Bat Rider jumps, they have to have the vision for it. you noticed that he was struggling to find somebody. Ice at that point was down to just even grab Ohio and bring him back. But as soon as he jumped in, Mushi says, "Okay, I'm gonna pop the global. I don't care if it's ideal or not. Team fight has started. I'd rather do it now than I'm at 20% HP." And I really wrecked Vici.
Now we can see that next round of items. Looks like Mushi is actually going to go for a Lincoln. Pretty smart choice. Can deal with both the Stormhammer, but more importantly, the lasso.
Man, Vici, the lead that they once had was so immense. That was 14,000 XP at one point. It was creeping up to 10k gold.
You can really see the impact because we were talking about how Fnatic were kind of stuck in this situation where they just like completed BKB. And then they were at that area where they weren't going to get any change up in like power levels at all. They weren't going to get any fresh items that would change the. Oh, Mushi's actually going Refresher, not Lincoln.
He still got a 9-second PKB too.
Yeah. Yeah, BKB'd up for days.
Yeah,
do you think the Lincoln is a better option? Because we know that that's Batrider's target #1.
I think that Refresher is fine for this kind of game. He just has to play really far back if he gets the Refresher. You grab the Refresher, it's pretty much, guys, I can't really fight with you in the beginning. Don't rely on me for damage. Vici's gonna pick up their own AC, and they've got the gem now. I still think Vici have a pretty nice window of timing for them to win. They just can't afford to play this fight sloppy. They're about to get high grounded right now.
Sai's definitely got to get the right initiation. He's sitting practically off the map. He's going to go in, actually trying to pick up mid one first, trying to get the quick pick off on him. And that was a lot of BKBs being used by Vici Gaming. If Fnatic can actually get out with minimal losses, this will be an okay fight. But Fnatic are going to be losing at least Christie to TP out. Mushi, he's going to be good. Glimmer Cape stays there. And Bone Druid's back out as well. So that's actually not too bad, considering the lasso was used on the Nyx Assassin, and so many BKBs were used by Vici Gaming. Yeah, it obviously stopped the uphill push, but I think the next round for Fnatic, they'll still have that Aegis, and I think they have a better chance of actually being able to successfully go high ground with their next.
I don't know. They're not gonna have global, and it's only another minute or minute and a half. Aegis.
I didn't see he actually used global in that fight.
He popped global because for a second they thought they were gonna fight, but
yeah.
He got dragged into their base. It's like, at that point, you just wave goodbye to that guy. this ain't the military, guys. Every man for themselves.
There is no man left behind. There's definitely, as much as possible, you're gonna cut that cord.
I'm DJ at that point. Like, I'm just like solemnly waving goodbye. It's like Minwon's taken from me.
Waving that little tentacle.
Best of luck. It's like, as soon as you lose one hero, Dota's really just a number, even with the Aegis advantage. Is during that time that guy's dead with the Aegis, your entire team's dying. He isn't just gonna like stop. Okay, we'll wait for you to come back up for the second line. And even then, the Aegis on the silencer, not like it would be on Burning. With Burning, you would fear him both times alive. But if the silencer uses the BKB or his global, at that point, he doesn't really deal that much damage. You're not that afraid of him, in all honesty. What does he have for aggressive items? He's got a Rod of Athos. Black King Bar gives you 24 damage, but then you've got a Blink Dagger.
Fnatic can't actually push uphill because they use Global Silence, and that they're going to lose that Aegis. What is the next timing for back and let Vici Gaming be the aggressors for a little while? Or do they still try and control this map?
I think you wait for the Refresher if you're on the silencer and see what you can do with the double global. Problem right now for them is that they don't have any more smokes, and Vici's about to grab a smoke, 21 seconds, but for Fnatic it's going to be the next minutes.
It really feels like the Batrider is the key factor here. Like when Fnatic are the ones pushing high ground, the fight is a lot cleaner, it's a lot more separated, right? It's their side, our side, but when you start getting into the middle of a map, Batrider has so many avenues to engage and find that right next pickoff.
Oh, this is perfect. Fnatic have the Refresher. This is around one of the better moments that they're going to grab for fight. They don't have the
And
angle.
let Ice make his initiation. He's going to BKB, jump forward, not really finding any things here. And now they're going to be able to counterplay this one. The global sounds goes off. Mushi blinking in aggressively, looking to be able to control up FY first. He's going to try and take out that supernova. Still though, Burning has run out of his BKB, and now it's going to be Rodavate posted up. So they see a free opportunity to kill the carry of Vici Gaming, as they're just going to leave him behind, knowing that this is pretty much, as we said, every man for himself. They're going to try and TP away on FY. Fenrir probably going to be chased down. He doesn't have a blink or anything like that. So he'll just buy time perhaps with a snowball. That's going to be 3 down from Vici Gaming. As that refresher definitely had a huge impact in the fight.
Oh, that was massive. For once, Monster was able to deal out damage, meet out damage while he was kind of in the back lines, and they allowed their lone druid to kind of step forward. And best thing about that fight was that DJ was able to get the send back on the Nyx as he was being dragged forward to the rest of his team. So as that happened, you just had a null initiation happen. And mid one was like, okay, now I can get back in there. I haven't used any spells yet. At that point, Vici, they were hard committed for the racks. Great.
Bushi can play like super aggressively once he pops that global silence and uses BKB. He can blink in really aggressively as long as he's not in the vicinity of Burning. She's going to take care of you, but Ice did come around. He's finding the right kind of initiation. They're going to be able to try and blow him. But no, this sent back. 10 gets it once again. The tornado. This is just going to be cleanup time for Vici Gaming, but it's going to be consolation prize at this point. The big win would have been killing Mushi. They only get mid-1 as the successful TP from Chen does go out.
No, the old Invoker would have stopped it.
Yep, the deafening blast being changed.
Double damage. Who slays me? Curse you!
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Illusion! Curse you!
Radiant's middle barracks are under attack. Radiant's middle barracks is fortified. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Be still!
Dire's bottom barracks are under attack.